Welcome to the World's Dirtiest Workshop, Part 3, Return of the Red Eye, the yard lights housing. In this particular video, we're going to work on the roof itself of the fixture and any other extra parts related to the roof and structure to finish the housing in such a way that it's, Mad Max grade, end of the world, that kind of thing. It needs to be wind-proof, rain-proof, hail-proof, tornado-proof. This thing's going to last until I am very, very old, even with all those conditions. Extreme heat and snow. This is Texas. This is North Texas. If you're far enough away from the Gulf, North Texas faces all kinds of weather extremes, from 105-degree heat over the course of a month to snowfall from anywhere from 1 to 7 days. So yeah, Dallas is like that. It's pretty insane. So again, Mad Max grade yard lights housing. The goal for today is to put a side piece on to the roof to give it some structure. Of course, there's going to be another one over here on this side as well. That's going to be hidden behind and underneath. We're going to put on a piece of white pine on top of this panel so that should a hailstone come dropping out of the sky, all right, and I'm not joking about any of this. We have stuff falling out of the sky that's huge and heavy. If it hits that, it's not going to break it. And you say, how do you know that a hailstone is going to come flying out of the sky and hit this thing? Well, 6 months after I moved into the Dallas area, my new Honda Accord was destroyed. Not by a single hit, but by several dozen large hits from hailstones. Okay, that's a 30-year storm, but the weather is getting wilder and the winds are getting more and more common. Yes, global warming is real. It is happening. The weather is changing. It hasn't been like this in 100 years, and it's becoming consistent. So it's not something you can just say over time. You have to actually watch it. You have to observe it over time and say, hey, this is really, really happening. Here are the records. So, yes, we have to be prepared for global warming and weather changes and more extreme weather here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, white pine on top, maybe some white pine or plywood for the sides, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the handle and we're going to put it on top of that. Okay, so this is an upgrade from the original design, which is fairly straightforward. As I said, Mad Max build. This thing will absolutely never, ever, ever break. Now, I'm a little fancy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of composite on the front here. You're going to see that later on in the video. That's like a quarter round piece, and that'll give the rain some runoff. Instead of being a shelf, it'll kind of flow off the front of the unit. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to focus on this particular part of the unit. Of course, the unit looks, something like this, right? And you're going to have the light underneath here inside. I'm not going to draw that because it'll just get confusing and get to be a bit of a problem. But if you do remember, there's these metal parts that will be sticking out of the bottom. So this thing's going to be pretty darn heavy, right, when we're done. It's going to look a lot like that. So fast forward and just see how close we get to the actual plan. Thank you very much.
In some cases, the back is not perfectly aligned with the roof. All you need to do is take the belt sander to it and clean it up, and you'll get a perfect alignment every time. So we're kind of cheating the quality here. Instead of making it 100% right the first time, we're getting it close and then grinding it down to make it fit, just like my dentist. If I cut them off from here, I can move them to here, and I can give that some structural support, but I either need glue or a brad or something to lock that in. I came up with this crazy idea to cut little blocks on the end here, this one as well. So the rounded side will be on the back, and then I'll put the triangle in there to support the roof, and there'll be another one over there to support the roof as well. And then I'll glue it all together and maybe even add a screw, and that should hold it. So I'm going to need 10 of these, so I better get to work and cut 10. I was prototyping the part, and I was using this white pine and screwing into the treated wood, the treated lumber. And when I did, I was using these decking screws. I went a little too far and broke the wood. So I have to be very careful when screwing in and tightening down these pieces. I'm not quite sure what fastener I'm going to use just yet. These decking screws work pretty good, but when you get to the head, there's a chance that you're going to break it. Be careful when you're working with decking screws and white pine. I just want to take a moment to show you the prototype that I did here. I had to use a nail on either side, because if I try and screw through that white pine, it'll just snap. I'm using the triangles that I cut from the roof pieces with a little bit of yellow glue. So yellow glue on both sides, yellow glue between the white pine and the pressure treated, little yellow glue on the triangle supporting the roof, and then I'm going to let that sit overnight. And I'm going to do as many of them as I can. So we have our roof and side pieces and little triangles that I've glued in to support the roof and give it some strength. It's already quite strong, but I'm also considering adding another panel on top of that roof to which I can attach a handle. So someone can just walk up to the garden, give the handle a yank, and lift the light fixture right out of the ground, say to do some gardening. Makes it rather convenient. So we're going to take a moment and go back to our original design and make some changes. Okay, we're back to our list. We disassembled it. This will happen later. We haven't made a roof yet. We planned on that. We kind of made half of a roof, so not quite. We're going to make the sides, and we did some gluing and some nailing and some screwing. But we didn't paint it and reassemble it. So you just have to make sure that we're label up at the end of this checklist, and that we finish the roof the way we intend to. We did change our design, so here with all of our panels, you can see here that there is a roof on it, but we're going to make that roof a little stronger. Already, that's pretty strong. The glue has dried, and our little triangles really helped. You don't need to nail or screw in everything. Sometimes a little wood glue is all you need. So we're going to go with this and then improve upon it and put a roof panel on so we can attach a handle to it, screwing in the handle. Now, do we really need this roof panel? No, not really. We can probably screw a handle right in here, and this would be just fine. So right now I'm on the hunt in my garage for a piece of wood that would fit the roof panel, and that would give us some desirability. Of course, we're not going to use any wood trim for, say, a hallway, but we're just probably going to use a 1x3 or something like that. These are 1x3s, and maybe just run the 1x3 across there and then slope it down a little bit just to make it look nice. One of the things we want to do with each panel is we want to make sure that we take a really big screwdriver and that we turn in each one of the screws as best we can. These are the things we need to think about is, you know, how straight are all the surfaces. This one is a little proud over here, so we're going to have to do some grinding. When we do grind, we're going to remove some of this rust protection off of these screws. So we have to be careful. Maybe we're just going to grind this way with the grinder and not touch that screw. Then we're going to put this extra layer of wood on, maybe plywood or a 1x3, so I might have to run to the store. I'm thinking the 1x3 is going to be the way to go because that really looks nice like that going all the way across. I might be able to get some pressure treated 1x3 and that will really help. But that is the plan, to go to the store and get some 1x3 and get 5 handles to go across the top. I have the wire that I can use for the anti-crash system that I'm going to probably run a hole through here and just loop it around so that gives that some crash protection in case you drop it. So drop protection, not crash protection. I don't know if you're going to crash it, but you are going to drop it, and we will go with that. So this is really coming along nicely. I really like these. This isn't going to take much more than a day or two to make these. And then we just need to paint them up, reassemble them, and put them out in the yard and enjoy them. I found some old wood in the back of my garage. Time to get out the safety gear and measure this for the roof and cut it. Here we're at about 9 1/4, 9 5/16. So let's see if the pen fits somewhere in here. No, it really doesn't. So we don't have a piece of wood that we can use to set the angle up correctly. What I am going to do is I'm going to lift the guard and check the blade and see if the blade is falling on the right spot. It looks like the blade is falling on the right spot. It looks like the angle is correct. I'm going to bring the guard up towards the wood and then push the wood back straight. And I got to make sure that I'm on the left side of the line. And I think that's going to be good. I think we're going to try this in one cut. So let's give it a whirl. Hold it down firmly. Start your trigger. Let's see where we are. Set that side up, and we're just a teeny tiny bit under 9.5, which is just right. So here we are here on this side, and here we are a little under a 9.5 on that side. So there, and then under 9.5. So that's perfect. Let's check and see how square we are. So that's one side is square. The other side is pretty square. So this is going to be the roof section. Let's go over and test fit it. Back here inside the world's dirtiest workshop. And I'm just going to set that across like that and see what it looks like. So that's not half bad. If I glue that down and screw that down and do some sanding, that's going to come out just fine. Grind off the excess on the other side. Yep, that's going to work. Let's try another one. So let's test fit this one over here. Yeah, that's going to work. Try another one. Test fit that one. Yep. Yeah, I think, you know, if I cut a few of these, that's going to work out just fine. Sometimes you might get one that's just a little short from one side to the other. That's normal. Nothing is ever perfect. You just have to give it a whirl. Alright, we're back, and we're just checking to see just how far off our rough cuts were. And you know what? That's not too bad, honestly. Now flip over your pieces and see where they are on the other side. You can see one is a little off here, because it's a little wider on this side, but you know what? You know, that's not half bad. You know, yeah, they're not perfectly square, but that's going to work for the roofs that I needed. One of the things I asked myself is, you know, do I need to put an angle on this piece? Do I want to angle it this way? Do I want to angle it that way? You know, do I want to put a long angle on this front piece? And I could do all of that, and I'm seriously giving that some thought. If I do that, I'm going to be close to this knot, and that's going to create some difficulty. But you know what? It might still happen. So what I probably want to do is do a test cut. So here's a smaller piece, and you know, I'll see what it takes to cut these down to make the angles I need, and see if I want to take the time to do that. I've made a decision. What I want to do is take the roof and just put it on square like that. So I'm not going to bevel the edge or make an angle or anything like that. I'm just going to put it across the back square, and then I might use quarter round or some kind of angle piece here. Just cut it at a 45 and stick it on there, and that will be the slope for the roof. So that actually might work out pretty good, and that actually might look really well, and then I can attach the handle to the top. So that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to pick the right size piece for the right sized assembly, and then we're going to attach it just the way it is. And that's how it's going to be until I can find a piece for this part of the roof. So that's the easy way out. I know I'm chickening out here, but you know what? That will work. Also, I will take one of my decking screws, and I will screw it in this way from the bottom up, and I will put a washer on that to really give that a lot of squeezing force to really pull that tight. So we're going to screw in from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put washers on every one of these, aluminum washers, and we're going to screw it in from the bottom up, and hopefully that won't stick through the top. It looks like it's really close, but with a washer that should make it so that it does not penetrate the roof all the way up to the top. Oh, it does look a little green, doesn't it? Well, what do you know? Green. That is good. One thing about Texas is there's a lot of different kinds of root beer that are available from all over the country. And some specialty shops even have it from all around the world. So, come to Texas and stop in these small towns and check out our supply of root beer. You won't be disappointed. Go in the munch. Go in the munch. Go in the munch. Go in the munch. Just push play. Go in the munch. Go in the munch. Go in the munch. Yeah, no, so good. Oh. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right, that's nice and smooth now. Make sure you check everything from both sides to make sure that you know, it's going to fit that side and that side. And yeah, there's a gap there, but you know what? When I squeeze that tight, that's not too bad. So that's what I'm looking for right there. So just, you know, do a test fit. Make sure you've ground down or sanded down the areas where things are joined together, and you'll find that you'll get a pretty good fit. So we're just going to, again, put that piece on the top. We're going to screw it in from the bottom tightly and then sand everything down again. Not taking any measurements. I'm just going to wing it. And then we take the drill and then we line it up and then we give it a squeeze and hope it goes in straight. Alright, so we don't want to go in too far because we don't want to drill into my table. But that is the first one, and then we're going to go get some screws and just see if that goes in correctly. Okay, so we have our collection of washers here, and I'm going to just randomly grab one and grab a gray screw here and put that washer on that screw and see if it goes down all the way. It goes down most of the way. Maybe I want a bigger one. So let's try a bigger washer. And that goes down all the way and doesn't go all the way through. So that washer doesn't go down all the way. And, excuse me. That washer goes all the way down to the head, but doesn't go through. And that one seems to be more appropriate for what I'm going to do here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to put that in that hole. If you want something to go as straight as possible, use the longest extension possible. Now we're going to hold this as tightly as I can, applying a lot of pressure with my hand, and we're going to drive this down in. Then we're going to check to make sure that everything stayed in alignment over here and over here. So that looks like that worked. So now we're going to go over here and drill this one in. So hold on tightly and don't let go. Because if you let it slip, it'll go in crooked. Da, 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 da. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Ba, 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 bum. Oh yeah, sometimes if you use the rounded side of the washer as opposed to the flat side, you'll get a better appearance out of the screw you're driving in. So you just want to hold that as tightly as you can. Get it started. Okay. Once you get it started, you know, you're not all the way through the wood down here. Get ready and apply a lot of pressure and then begin driving all the way down. Beautiful. Okay, so how does that look? That looks like that's really attached, and you know, the gap isn't really all that significant there, so that's really kind of fine. And we're gonna screw the middle one in. Drilling, drilling, drilling. Let's go. You gotta hold it tightly or it'll go in crooked. Da, 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 da. Hold it tightly, so don't let go, cause it'll go in crooked. You're gonna lose control of your project. All right, so that is really that is really on there tight. So that part didn't quite go as expected. That's got a little bit of a gap in it. What I can do to try and close that gap, see that side's got a good gap. That side doesn't have a good gap. What I'm going to do is leave these two screws in, and I'm going to undo that one and redo that one. So bring it all the way up. Squeeze your project together as best you can, and then drive it down. And that looks a tiny bit better. Okay, so that's not bad. That gap's okay. That's all right. And I think this gap over here is because this piece isn't perfect. But you know what? You know, we're not gonna, you know, sell these on a showroom floor. This is going in my garden, so this is gonna be awesome. But one of the things you should think about when you're assembling things is, you know, can you get any wiggle out of a new part that you've assembled? And that's got some wiggle on it. What I'm gonna try and do here is remove this piece, put some glue in, put it back together, and then I'm going to screw it here and here. So now that I've got the screws in the holes, I can always just remove them as long as they go in the same place. And you might want to mark the front of your piece so you know which way is front. What you can do is, you know, just mark it like that. And then unscrew it, glue it, put it back together, make it stronger. So close, but I didn't get it right. So I'm gonna do it again. Nothing else matters. Okay, so there's our holes, and they're pretty clean, and they're pretty much where I wanted them to be. So I'm not like really close to the edge or anything like that. So that's great. And there's our holes through the top. When you take something apart, you can check for splinters. You can just sand them out, and that'll clean that up. That'll help this come together a little more tightly. So you can see there's a bulge there, and that you want to remove so you get a tight fit. Now, same thing over here. If you see any or feel anything sticking out, you'll want to grind that smooth so that that fits together tightly. So, what are we going to do about that? We're going to go get Mr. Sandpaper. You don't want this to be too big, or you won't get the proper effect. We're going to give that a whirl. Now, this is going to be our prototype. Okay, so I have these new bits, and these fit that perfectly. So now we're going to take the quick change, and we're going to install the bit into the quick change. Now that's in there. On the dial. Gonna get it aligned. Yeah, get it aligned. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. This driller night. Wow, yeah, that's tight. Drilling. I saw the pieces squeezed together as I did it. Da-da, da-da. A driller. And this driller, look how tight that is. That is amazing. So that's kind of tight from the front, not really great, but pretty good. Now what I could do is I could run a drill, run a screw through there, and maybe even tighten the ends back up. So I'm considering doing that, but the problem is I could split the wood. So do I want to put a screw in the end? I would like to, but the risk of splitting the wood is too great. I'm just going to go with the glue.